it honestly lends itself to Boston because Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday, Derek White, all of those players being able to get out in space, and then you have the shooting of Sam Hauser and Peyton Pritchard. I think Boston is going to win in 6. I don't think it's going to be a 5-game series, and I do think they'll have 2 games where they're asleep at the wheel, but the Pacers they didn't beat the New York Knicks. They beat the New York Knicks. I mean, Julius Randle out. Tom Thibodeau hurts him. Josh Hart got banged up and then fouled out of game 7. And then Bogdan Bogdanovic got hurt. Mitchell Robinson got hurt.
Jalen
Brunson got hurt in game 5. And then he was just playing players. Tom Thibodeau was playing players the entire game. It's like the New York Knicks were just way too tired for game 7. And which blows my mind because every single person on the ESPN preview picked the Knicks to win. I'm like, I get the home team hasn't lost, but at a certain point, you have to be like, maybe the New York Knicks are just too tired, and maybe Tom Thibodeau's style of coaching doesn't lend itself to winning more than 1 round in the playoffs, because the New York Knicks are acting like they've made it past the second round, and they haven't.
No, and they fell apart. I mean, you saw what happened. Their first series, they played great. Don't get me wrong. They beat the Sixers. But then this time against the Pacers, the 48 minutes, I mean, Josh Hart literally for the entire playoffs played every single minute at certain points. What happened to him? Obviously, he ended up getting hurt as well. But they were exhausted. And I really wanted to see Knicks and Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals. But I did know that after Game 4, I'm like, is anybody going to be able to play for them? Or are they going to have to disqualify? Because at this point, I mean, they were running out, a 6-man rotation at the end of it? 5-man rotation?
Yeah, they're basically playing a 6-man rotation, and OG Anunoby tried to come back. He played 4 minutes of game 7, and then Pascal Siakam blew by him every single time, and then he just went to the bench, and they were just like, nope, you can't play anymore. But it's like, it's not the New York Knicks' fault, and I picked the Pacers to win the series for this reason, because I'm like, well, Joel Embiid gets tired, and he's going to be more tired than the New York Knicks, which is why I picked the Knicks to win that series. But I'm like, I just can't see Tom Thibodeau's style of coaching getting a team past the second round, and then I can't see Jalen Brunson getting his team past the second round all on his own. I mean, I love Dante DiVincenzo, but is he a 2 on a championship team? He's better than Austin Reeves, but no.
He's an Austin Reeves figure, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Jalen Brunson also, like, we love Jalen Brunson, right? All-star, earned his bag, went to New York. The Mavericks didn't want him. He ended up getting paid. A lot of criticism for them paying as much as they did, and he ended up being a great addition to them. So we love Jalen Brunson on the show. Big fans of him, friend of the show. But at the same time, Jalen Brunson had to play like Michael Jordan every single game.
Yeah.
And put up 40 points in order for them to beat the Sixers and then get to where they were in game 7. I still applaud them because I think they had a great season and they definitely exceeded expectations for me. But at the same time, like, this was a team like Josh Hart, who usually averages like 6 rebounds a game, was the league leading rebounder in the playoffs. Like, yeah, okay. And then Dante DiVincenzo became Steph Curry for parts of the series as well. It just felt like this was almost like a fairy tale story for a long time for the Knicks. And not saying it wasn't great to watch, but at the same time, like, you knew that this was going to come to an end at some point, and it bared its fruit in game 7 because they got annihilated.
Yeah. And I don't know. Do you think if they weren't so focused on winning games in January that they could have made it past the second round if you had a healthy Julius Randle, OG Anunoby on this team? Do you think part of that's Tom Thibodeau's fault, or do you think they just got injured?
Well, I think playing them 45 minutes a night is going to get them hurt, right?
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, think about it. For those who don't play basketball and don't play in a rigorous sport that is the NBA, just put it into gym context, right? Let's say every single day for 4 months, you worked out 4 hours a day doing heavy lifting, right? One of those days, or eventually, you're going to have one of those days where you're lifting up a weight and your back breaks out. Or your arms, your bicep rips out of its socket.
Yeah.
One of those things is going to happen to you because you're working out 4 hours a day and you're feeding yourself with McDonald's because you can't sustain yourself. Like, it's an unsustainable process and ultimately comes to a crashing burn. And yes, I do think that Tom Thibodeau is to blame because What are you doing? Why is Josh Hart, somebody who is historically a role player who gets 25, maybe 30 minutes a night, why is he playing every single minute in the postseason for the Sixers series and the Pacers series? What did you think was going to happen?
Yeah.
You're going to absolutely exhaust this man. And that's ultimately what happened. He got hurt. And then you saw it with Jalen Brunson playing full 48 minutes a night. This is ultimately what was going to happen, whether it was against the Celtics or the Pacers.
Yeah, and they turned into that New York Knicks there, and like the Pacers like looked fresh in Game 7, and after they got blown out, and after the Pacers like blew them out in Game 6, it was like I still think that they could come back and win Game 7 because they still look fresh, and the Knicks just looked tired towards the end of that series.